What's
up,
guys?
draft.
Hey, welcome back. Yeah, we're back. What are we? Episode 11, right? So,
Yeah.
All right, let me get into
It's been
it.
a while, and Blanca, why don't you?
Am I overreacting on
Yep.
Reddit? Okay. Am I overreacting for firing my therapist for canceling our appointment?
Sheesh.
I'm in therapy to heal my attachment disorder. I have severe abandonment issues from my mother. I was in and out of foster care due to her abandonment and neglect of me and my siblings. The cycle went on throughout the first half of my childhood, which messed me up, but I've been in therapy to work through it. The therapist I had been working with the longest recently moved out of state and no longer takes my insurance, so I started seeing a new therapist recently. As recently as within the last couple of months, and she's already canceled on me 3 times.
Wow.
It's always at the last minute, and she will call me in a few days to reschedule. Am I overreacting, feeling like she is not being considerate because of my issues, or should I get a new one because I'm feeling a certain way due to my issues? Is it even my issues that are making me feel this way? Would anyone without abandonment issues feel the same way or similar? Wow.
Yeah, that's deep.
Holy cow!
Because the situation is playing into her actual psychological issue, right? Like she has abandonment issues, and her therapist, in my opinion, maybe I'm overreacting. Her therapist is actually abandoning her. Like,
I mean, even if that's not what she was going to therapy for,
yeah, I would
3
feel that
times
way.
at the last moment in 2 months.
Nah,
even if
we're
my
done.
issue was totally
We're cooked.
that's too much.
That's too much.
Unless
she's not overreacting, in my opinion.
No.
I'm gonna go ahead and say it up front.
She's
guys.
not, and I say kudos to her for being so thoughtful and writing it out, and getting opinions.
And think about it from this perspective. If her therapist is truly good at her work, she would have to understand that by her canceling on her multiple times at the last minute feeds into her issue. How can you not?
She's coming to see you for abandonment issues, but I don't know. Her therapist sounds disorganized.
I think if it was not for abandonment issues, then maybe it would be warranted, but I don't know. If you're a therapist, I guess you should be in tune with people. And if you already know that she's coming to you for abandonment things, it'd be prudent not to cancel appointments. Like maybe you're her last straw and her last rope, and and you're kind of, even though maybe you have legitimate reasons, maybe you got kids or whatever, but I mean, that does come up to somebody
it is legitimate reasons, and it just happened, and it sucks, and it just...
Was it done professionally, like through an email with enough time to reschedule, or was it like the day of?
Let me see what she said.
That's why people don't...
It's always at the last minute.
Oh, shoot. Okay, so that's
terrible.
And she will call me in a few days to reschedule. So
I mean, those therapists, they charge a lot of money. They that's a little...
And the other flip side of that is that if you cancel on a therapist at the last minute, they charge you a no-show fee.
Yeah.
Oh, well then, oh my gosh, yeah, that's...
I think her therapist...
Yeah. My therapist does.
Her therapist doesn't care about her as a client enough to be more respectful. I do understand if it happens once in those 2 months.
Yeah.
Maybe even 2 times at the most. And that would be a lot in 2 months. But okay, it could happen. Because just, when it rains, it pours type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It could be.
And it just happened to hit her. But 3 times, it's like that's a pattern.
Well,
and if you're not respectful enough of that, then how great are you gonna be as a therapist? Even listening, the therapist seems preoccupied with like her own life. Really.
I'm gonna actually go a little bit a level deeper here, and maybe generalize it a little bit more. This is actually the real fundamental issue here. This is what happens when you introduce a financial component into spiritual help, because now you have conflicts of interest. This is a business, but we're also supposed to be repairing your soul at the same.
Can I interject with you on that though? I mean, technically, all churches are a business too, right? They're not
correct.
profit. They're 501c3s according to the government. I'm not saying that what they issue out to their clergy, but there's I mean, and it's classified through a government initiative or a government classification.
They get tax breaks, but you could go to a church and there would not be
just tax breaks. It's the definition of what the business is defined as.
Correct, but a church is not a business. There's no financial transactions you do whenever you go and get. Sure, there's tithing, but that's voluntary. This therapist is extracting money for this appointment. But if you go and say if you go and you want to get your soul repaired at a church, the priest is not going to ask you for money.
No, I get that.
So that's the thing.
Well, not always. It could be. I mean, we got.
I don't think priests. If you go there
Jim
looking
and
for
Tammy Faye Baker and like the evangelists, like you got those people.
Sure. I guess I'm speaking for more Catholic.
I'm sorry,
you go and
I'm sorry.
If you seek out a priest.
I'm trolling. I'm being
no, it's fine.
I'm being very facetious. But I'm just saying that does happen. You can't.
Yes.
You can't totally.
But
separate.
What are you saying as far? So what about
just that this is the. It's actually, this is why I picked this question, because it actually highlights the conflict between profits and finances and something which is very physical and material and something metaphysical, which is your soul or your mental health.
If she was getting counseling at the church and the church counselor did that, I mean, that could happen too, and it would be just as rude.
Yeah, but she wouldn't. The issue here is that she's paying for all of this,
but she's not paying when her counselor.
That's good. I've never had it. I guess if you cancel, so she's not out of any money, right?
If her counselor cancels, then she doesn't have to pay for that session.
So it's just a
why would she have to pay? Like that's like if your doctor cancels on you, they're not going to charge you.
I'd give it an even more modern version. It's like if you do a grocery delivery order and they don't have certain things that you had on your list,
they're not going to charge you for the item that you didn't get.
I know and this is oversimplified. I know for like Uber and Lyft, you get cancellation fees for drivers.
But that's if the customer cancels,
not the driver.
Oh, okay.
The driver cancels, you don't get. And even sometimes Uber will waive that fee. I'm not trying to get too technical about it.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I was just this is a little bit out of my. I've never been to a therapist,
it's okay.
And yeah, I definitely know that they do practice for money. I mean, she's not out of any money. There's nothing wrong with what do they call it? Doctor shopping, right? Therapist shopping. You could do that.
Well, it is a business, yeah. But I think it's maybe this comes to a deeper issue. It's something that I've heard from other people when it comes to their aversion to therapy. I hear a lot of people say you have to find the right therapist, and I guess I've just been lucky.
Yeah.
My two therapists that I've gone to have been my people, and I just lucked into that. But I hear it from other people that it's not like situations like this will tell them like therapy's BS, and I don't want to be involved in it. Like they're not like that's so blatantly wrong the way her therapist is handling her case. It's terribly bad.
I wouldn't even feel comfortable sitting down and talking to her because I would be like, you don't care about what I gotta say, so
you don't even want to show up to hear what I gotta say.
You
can't even get the base one.
Like, are you sure you're here physically today? But are you sure you're here? Because that's
crazy,
especially for this profession too. Like maybe that you could that would be allowable in some other kind of field, but for this field, I mean, you're a professional therapist. They do have to get credentialed for this. Like they're not just, it's not just an online certificate, like they have to go to school, probably minimum 4 years for this. So you're a professional, and this particular field, you kind of need to maybe work out whatever you're doing in your personal life to make it to these appointments. I mean,
and I don't know. I don't think it explicitly stated it in the Reddit thread, but if she's also doing like telehealth, I think that's a factor versus in person. I don't know if that was context to that within that thread, but if she's telehealth, like that therapist should have more leeway with how she can manage her time, and she should know, in my opinion, subjectively, she should know when she's going to have a hiccup with the meeting time. if it's in person, that could be a little more tentative to me. Like that requires much more of a commitment. But either way, it's still wrong.
What? I'm glad you brought that up because I'm over here thinking if it was telehealth that I was doing and she
Can't
canceled
make that.
No, if she canceled 3 times, it's weird. I'm the opposite. I'm thinking right now, if she can't make that 3 times, I'd be super irked. But I think I would give her more
of a pass?
because it would be easy to reschedule. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
so you think the
really
in person is more of a violation if that's the case?
Yeah, because like maybe it's harder to get times. I don't know. It's harder for 2 people to work out meeting in person than,
yeah, I agree.
Because you have to drive there, you know. But she did say that her therapist calls her like the last moment and leaves her a message or calls her. I don't know if it's a message or tells her that to cancel and says she will call me in a few days to reschedule. So she doesn't even reschedule right then and there.
That's crazy.
But that's why if it was a telehealth, I would definitely be more open to.
You would show her more grace.
I would because I would be like, it's so easy to reschedule. Even if like you can't do it at 4 and something came up, let's do it at 6. Are you available at 6? Like, you know, or tomorrow
at 8
a.m. or 4 p.m. Yeah, it seems so much easier to reschedule telehealth.
I do. I agree. But I also feel like.
But I still think a therapist should probably try not to, you know,
I just feel like if you're telehealth, you have more, like you can probably handle your personal issue that you need to be there in person for, and then meet your telehealth appointment. It
should be even easier.
It should be a little bit easier because my therapist, I guess I'm gonna be on camera and talk about my thing. She only does telehealth. She used to do in person, but she's strictly telehealth. She will not do, and I'm sure she has personal issues. I mean, some things we've even talked about. When I say personal issues, I'm talking about in real life issues. I'm not talking about her.
No, I get
her psyche or whatever. But she's like, that's why she prefers to do it that way, because if she has those issues that come up in her real life, she can handle them
and around it better.
Yeah, she has a more liberal approach to how she can find solutions for her physical in-person issues.
Sense. That makes total sense. And you said also that you have to find the right therapist for you. And I haven't really done therapy. I did many, many years ago, and it was couples therapy for like
a few sessions. I always wondered how that works.
But the therapist would always fall asleep on us, and I'd be like,
"Really? That's a violation! I want my money back, dude."
He was old though, and I think he had hemorrhoids because he sat on a donut pillow, so I gave him grace. Excuse me.
What? This is
wild. You know what I would do when I would notice he would fall asleep? I would be like, so what I was saying was that
you gotta speak up.
But I wasn't rude about it because I didn't want to be mean to him. You know, your elders and stuff, you want to respect them.
Of course,
So I would
crazy.
I would give him like a friendly, you know, voice nudge, like, "Hey, wake up!" Like I would be looking out for him when he would fall asleep on us. I'd be like,
"Yeah,
it's crazy." And then
that's wild.
I went to therapy twice. I found a counselor, right? And this was two sessions, meaning twice. 2 sessions in the Highlands. But I quit going because I have ADHD and he has ADHD. And it was not going to work out. No, we weren't clashing. He was going to be my best friend, and we weren't going to get any therapy accomplished.
Oh, so y'all were just
he would have liked that, so
hamming it up. Y'all were just like talking and hemming and hawing and just having a conversation.
We did have some therapy stuff, but like when I first got there, like both sessions, he was like his office was like an organized chaos. Right? Which is like, I understand it, but he was like still getting his stuff together, and he was like putting a supplement powder in his water, and like it was, I really wanted to keep going to him, but I was thinking he's going to make my mental health worse.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to be like a whole mess when I walk out of here and get nothing accomplished with him. And it was $100 per session out of pocket. Then after that, I was like, don't even need therapy.
Well, you bring up a good point too. It's how many of these therapists might need therapy? If he's got these issues, this therapist,
That happens.
Oh,
therapist
yeah.
obviously
Therapists
has issues.
Therapists. Yeah.
So it can we find? So is she really? If this therapist is in need of therapy or spiritual guidance herself, is she really culpable for this? Because I mean, it's kind of like, could you blame
Well, yeah,
yes, 100%.
a coworker who's depressed or your
but just because you're in a profession doesn't mean you seek other professions or other professionals within your profession to get advice from. Like, I'm going to make it something simple like football. Like,
no, but I'm saying how come?
I'm sure coaches talk to other coaches.
But that's her problem, not her client's problem.
Why is it? But the therapist is held to we're holding the therapist to a higher standard than the client. The client is seeking help here. The therapist.
I'm not talking. Might
need help too.
My example did not.
And so should the therapist get some grace? I'm just playing a little bit devil's advocate.
No.
Should we give the therapist grace?
Yeah,
maybe the therapist
needs
yeah. We should give them grace, but it doesn't discount their profession.
Like, because she's a human being, she should get grace, not because she might have her own issues. Because truly, like, I don't care what issues she has, she needs to be working that out and giving me a service.
So maybe the therapist, if she's having issues, maybe she should just take a hiatus and be like, I'm not working with patients.
But I guess on the question, I'm not even worried about what the therapist is doing. I was just worried about like the patient.
Of course, that's the nature of the question. Of course.
Yeah. But
so do we think she's over? I don't think she's overreacting. I think I said that from the jump.
I think it's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, I do too.
I mean, because
especially if it's not done like you said in a professional manner. Like I've had, like with my therapist, I've been seeing her for 6 months, and we had this rescheduled twice. But she told me like a week in advance. She was like, "Our normal day we can't do. So can we choose another day or choose another session?"
Even if she said it like a few days in advance.
Yeah,
2 days in advance. That would be very cool.
I'd be fine with that. But the fact that it's last minute is a little concerning.
Like it's probably
to me.
like that day in the morning, and she has to be there that afternoon or something. Like
That's
sounds
crazy.
real. That's crazy.
That's crazy. And especially if they are meeting in person, and like I had to like make time out of my day to physically come drive to see you.
They could be meeting in person because I feel like if it was telehealth, she would have said it.
She would be like you, give her a little bit more.
Yeah, and I feel she would have disclosed that information.
I agree with you.
I feel like it's like traditional therapy.
Yeah.
So, but can I veer off course and ask you one question about? Okay, and this is not about your therapist towards you, just your therapist, like the services she offers. Does she, like when she listens and does she listen or give advice more?
She listens and then gives advice.
Is her advice like very practical and thoughtful, and or is it sometimes like kind of like wonky, like kind of weird?
No, it's all practical. It's all exercises. It's not just like her take on my situation. She cites specific studies from
psychology,
and different
journals and all psychology journals,
not just journals,
clinical things.
It's clinical, but it's also more recent things too. It's not just legacy, historic stuff. And she has exercises for me to do. And then she tells me she doesn't just provide those exercises as the solution. She says, research these exercises and then tell me what you think about it. And then come back to therapy and tell me if these exercises work for you or not. And if not, then we'll look at some other exercises or some other. It's pretty practical based. It's not just, oh, you need to go cry in the shower and you'll be all right tomorrow.
She really makes you work through your stuff.
You have to work through it.
So another question I have is, does she get into like the stuff with what's his name? The psychologist, the one that Freud? Jordan Peterson always talks about. The one from Carl Jung. Where like he talks about like the shadow self and the ego,
the collective consciousness, and all
like,
that.
Does she get into that type of stuff, or does she follow?
We talk about it, and the only reason we talk about it is because she's aware that I know about it.
But she's not bringing it up to you, like imposing that on you, because
she never uses that as a solution. She just wants to I mean, I think I'm a decently smart guy. I'm not the smartest guy, but I'm not the average when it comes to being, I want to say, well read. I'm not her average person. So
Yeah.
like we bring up certain stuff and like
Just to discuss, like,
and to give context to the discussion. Like
Yeah.
we could like we know what parameters we're messing around with. Like you're not just gonna approach me with some, like you said, some
That's my
BS
question. Is she-
BS wonky
does she
like
just-
new ageism is it's not I
she
hate
doesn't
that
just
word.
come and approach you like with her views. She keeps it clinical.
For sure. And
Unless you wanna talk about
we
something.
discuss it from the narrative or the perspective of knowing the background to how she came to her knowledge.
Yeah,
like I'm
yeah.
not certified as a therapist. I didn't
No,
go to
yeah,
college
yeah,
for
I
that.
get it.
But I know some of the material and some of the people she cites, and I've read some of their work.
Yeah.
And so it gives context to
Right.
that. So no, we don't.
But that's because you want to discuss those things and are open to it. But
Yes.
she's not like pushing
No.
those things on you.
And I don't
I
know.
like
I don't
that.
know if she does that with her other clients. Maybe she does, but she doesn't.
Well, if she
doesn't come off to me as that way, but maybe that's just because she knows she can approach. Maybe she
well,
does it to
maybe
other
she takes the lead, lets her client take the lead on that, which is really smart.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, you guys think what's the verdict? So
I don't think she's overreacting.
No, she's not overreacting.
I'm with,
Is he the lone horseman?
no, I gotta be. I think I'm with you guys, just because it is technically it's a business.
But you're on the fence
and
in a way, right?
I am. I basically I can make a case for both sides.
Devil's advocate over here.
But I do think that no, she's not overreacting.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
the therapist, she runs a business. She can kind of, well, she has obligations she has to fulfill.
Yeah.
And the client
Expects that of her.
I mean, it's just
They have expectations
just
of
markets.
each other.
There's markets. It's not the only therapist. You know, there's a bunch of them out there. So
Exactly.
you can. So yeah, I think that's nice.
And that's a wrap.
That wraps up our first segment. So
We're back.
Let's go.
Hey. All right, back for this segment, and this is going to be our conclusion to the birth rates issue.
Yes,
this is I think we've already laid out the solution, or I'm sorry, laid out the issue. I think we're going to explore solutions for this, and these are obviously all hypothetical. None of this has ever really been done large scale. We're going to just explore them and see maybe what the best solution is.
Yes.
With a combination of private and public enterprises. So let's start it off. So
Fred,
I think
you want to kick it off?
Yeah, I mean, my solution is what the leading country in the world is doing, which is Israel. They're using IVF as a countermeasure to increase the fertility rate, birth rate, population. I know those things can be used independently of each other, or those terms can be used independently of each other, but they're kind of synonymous too. I like to clarify. And then also there's a financial incentive to the citizens of that country to do that and participate in that program. Israel. So there's a double benefit there in a way. You know, we have more citizens of our country, but the country's going to pay us to do that, which I think makes sense. I think it's ethically correct. I think it's politically correct. I'm not trying to be woke. I don't mean PC. I just mean like it's a politically correct decision for citizens of that country to participate in if they want to involve themselves in that program. And I think it's it's a tech solution. It's an ultimate solution. Like if we truly are in that cataclysm of like not having enough people on Earth to carry on, then why not participate in technology?
So that would be the solution to the part of the problem for people that are not fertile. Because like people that are fertile don't need IVF.
Don't need IVF.
Yeah. So for the part of the population that isn't fertile.
I didn't think about that. Yeah.
And what about potential mothers that don't want to have And this gets into a different ethical issue that may not necessarily want to participate in the normal biological way to have a kid, even if they are
You
fertile.
mean, you said single?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
I'm not saying that it's wrong. I don't have a position.
So-
I'm just saying that
Yeah.
there could be, and then people that are,
Well, you would have to. You're right about that, and you would have to use.
that's a twist. But
You would have to structure your society to encourage and incentivize coupling.
Mhm.
So that's what you would do,
True.
and unfortunately, there's no incentive to do it right now.
Mhm.
You can look into the manosphere movement. They've got a
That's
whole
crazy. I
they've
don't
got a
agree
lot
with
of
that.
grievances, whatever. I don't
Yeah.
really care for them.
I don't care for them either.
They diagnose some things correctly, but their treatment is not. It's terrible.
Their solution is terrible.
Their solution's terrible.
It's a Marxist fallacy. I know I keep harping on that. And that's
right.
the thing.
Yeah. So they
They
have,
identify the problem correctly, but their solution is
yes, they
horrible.
identify the problem correctly. So encouraging coupling would work. But yeah, what were you going to
Well,
say?
I was just going to say that I can see both sides where people would be like, that's kind of unethical, or they would have a problem. Some parts of the population to give public funding to moms who are going to be single moms. But I don't know if that's a problem. I mean, I don't think it's ideal, obviously.
I agree with you.
I don't think it's ideal. I don't think it's because these would be fertile women that want to be moms and for whatever reason just don't have a partner or aren't married. And I have to reserve judgment on that one because I don't.
That's okay.
Maybe I'm
That's what I
wrong.
wanna hear.
Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think you're wrong.
Maybe I'm wrong to not have an opinion. Or
you don't have it? I
No.
thought you were saying you do have an opinion.
No, I did say I'm gonna reserve judgment. I don't have an opinion on it because I
Really?
think that I don't know if I have an opinion. I
Okay.
don't know what my
We're talking about
opinion is.
solutions.
I don't know what I know.
how would
I
you
don't
fix
know
a
what my
species going
opinion
extinct?
of that would be.
And the only
Because
reason
I
bring
don't know
that
if it's necessarily wrong for a woman to want to have a child and not have a partner. Like maybe that's okay.
and I think,
you know?
and I'm thinking of it in the context of what he just said, where the population decline is
Yeah.
such a problem
Yeah.
that we're willing to try all necessary avenues to make us
Good
not
point.
extinct,
Not
you know?
extinct,
And so that, like I said, I think that's why we had to split this issue into 4 segments. This issue can get into a bunch of different ethical issues
Sure.
and problems and things like that. So
Can I say that even if there was not a population growth issue,
you would still be okay with a single mother wanting to get
maybe,
IVF without a partner.
I don't think right now I don't see a problem with it.
Okay.
But I think that what I'm saying is even if there is no population growth issue, I think that the country should still help pay for those women that are infertile.
I agree.
Like they should help women that are infertile at the very least.
Well, the infertility issue is if you're congenitally infertile, that's so rare. Your average woman is fertile.
Can you look that up for us, Calvin?
I don't know. I don't think it's that rare because it's metabolically.
What is the
infertile.
infertility rate amongst the average woman?
Just say in the U.S.
No, but you would have to.
I was going to say globally.
Okay, yeah.
Just say U.S.
We'll do U.S. because that's our country. But yeah, the issue is not that women are. I just want to clarify.
And I'm sure that there's an age
that
range attached to that too, right? Like probably
Correct.
women that are 20 to 30 are probably more fertile from women.
Yeah, women who are 70.
30.
But like,
I wouldn't go in that extreme. I was going to go 30 to 35, which is like a more normal range of women wanting to have children now.
No, not anymore.
can
They're
have-
older.
They're older
30
than 30, 35?
Yeah.
Oh, damn. Okay.
No,
So-
the only thing is that you risk what they call geriatric pregnancy over the age of, I think, 33 as a woman, which means that the chances that your child is born with
Can we look that up?
defects,
Doubles.
it's it's much higher than when you
It
have
doubles
children.
from like 0.5%
your-
to 1%. So it's still not high. It's not
That's
high.
very negligent.
It is.
It's
And
very
they make it-
negligent.
That's a-
1%
They
is
make it
very
sound
negligent.
like I just
And
gave
that
it.
sounds harsh.
Look, I have to look that stat up. I just gave that number as an example. But when you hear it doubles your chances of having a baby with Down
But I want to know
syndrome,
the real number.
you think it's super high. Like what? There's a 25% chance? No,
Well,
I
that's
think
the only.
I
That's
think
not the only issue, though. You
it-
also risk higher percentages of miscarriage.
higher percentages of miscarriage. Yeah.
Yes, at older ages. So that's the thing.
Which I think that then try again.
Yeah. So there's a lot of
Find a
issues.
solution.
So basically, here's the parameters. What you would have to construct is a system to incentivize the young women to have their kids from, if you want healthy babies, from the ages of 18 to probably 28. And how would you construct a system to make sure that the children are born with? Because otherwise, if you don't do that, then you have to use IVF. After 30, you got to use IVF.
After 30?
You don't have to.
No, after 40.
It's a supplement.
After 40.
And
No,
let me
like-
express this.
No,
I know I've expressed
after
this.
40,
I'm not-
100%.
I'm not trying to interrupt you. And let me express this, which I think I've already expressed in previous episodes with this segment and my solution to this issue. This IVF thing is used as a supplement. It's not the alternative.
No.
I'm not saying that we should stop having
Exactly.
biological births in
Right.
the
No,
I'm
normal
aware, I'm
way.
aware. We
Yeah.
talked
I'm saying
about
I'm
if
this.
glad you
it's
cleared
true-
that up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm saying if we truly have a problem, then we need to supplement the natural way.
And every
with
other
this.
solution that's standard isn't working, then let's try this.
I don't
Yeah.
even know of another standard solution that's
Well-
going to work.
Well, I
outside
haven't
of,
presented mine yet.
outside of
Well,
biological
I haven't
birth.
presented mine yet. I think you all would like it, actually.
Okay. go
And
ahead.
I have
I'm
mine
waiting
also.
But I'm waiting
Yeah.
for Calvin's data that I asked him for.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
The infertility rate among women is estimated to be around 10 to 15%.
So very low.
That's not low, but it's not.
That's pretty high. I didn't think
It's-
that's pretty high. It's 1 in 10.
Yeah,
Wow.
1 to 1. Yeah, 1. Because like you can be fertile when you're 25, let's say, or you can be fertile at a certain age and then you gain 100 pounds, which is not uncommon, and then you become infertile, and it
And
doesn't
what I-
have to be for like a issue metabolic issue or hormonal issue that you were born with. It's just you're unhealthy and overweight and you're not able to either conceive or you're not able
And
to.
I want to give him, I'm not
sustain.
interrupting you, but I want to give more context to this data. Does that give an age range on that data? What's the age range?
Around 6% of married women aged 15 to 44 are unable to conceive after 1 year of trying.
Wow.
5%, 6%.
I mean,
From
That-
age
that's lower.
15 to 40?
I don't know why is it 44.
Wow, that's crazy.
You think that's low
It's
or
after
high?
1 year.
Because
I
that's
think that's-
lower.
I know, but it's just. I
I
guess
don't
I
know. I
wanted to
guess they
ask the
really
age
didn't-
range because I'm sure if we start stratifying those age
Yeah,
ranges, we would get a more clear.
I would
picture.
say the
Yeah, if you could
40.
That's
conduct
the
that study.
mean.
I would say the 40 to 44-year-old
is going to be higher.
is bringing that number up. I would
Right.
say up to 38, let's say, or
Right,
40,
right,
39. I think that number would be probably 3%.
I agree. Man,
You know?
I wouldn't be surprised if it was higher.
And can you look up one more thing, Calvin? The chance that a woman can get pregnant between 35 and 40.
Oh, it's going to be very rare. It's going to be.
No, it's not.
Oh, it's very.
I don't think it is. I might be wrong.
Damn, I thought it was a
The
huge
chances
issue.
that a woman can get pregnant between naturally pregnant between 35 and 40.
But
What
the
is it?
useful stat is the chances that she can carry the baby to term.
Right, we can look that up too. But look this up first to get
because
pregnant.
a miscarriage would count as pregnancy.
Yes.
True.
Yeah.
indeed.
But we
There's a
can
lot of
look this up
miscarriages.
first in steps. What does it say, bub?
So IVF is not that off then if we have to lose a couple to gain a few.
And
Miscarriage is natural.
actually-
so
I actually like that.
And
Do you
that
have
naturally
something?
happens in a
Okay.
biological environment or vacuumized
exactly.
situation.
Actually, your solution is actually
what's
pretty-
the difference?
Your solution is
Miscarriage? and
Well,
is
I'm
actually not bad.
saying when I say there's a difference, I'm not saying like medically defined. I'm saying like the outcome.
Between an embryo, leaving an embryo behind, or having a miscarriage?
Yes.
Because you try. With the miscarriage, you tried. You try to get it implanted.
The embryo is just
you don't even try. You leave it out.
Try. You just.
So what does it say, Bub?
For women aged 35 to 37, the chance of conceiving in any given month is around 15 to 20%. For women aged 38 to 40, the chance drops to about 5 to 10%.
That's okay.
So less than half.
And what
it
about
dropped 75%? Wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say for 37 to 40, if a woman wants to conceive and it's 5 to 7 in any given month, it would seem like they would have to try for at least a year.
That's usually my friends my age. Yeah, it took them about a year to conceive. So.
Or maybe 2, because to get to 100%, every month you have a 5% chance. What's 12 times 5?
60.
Okay, so I would say 12 to 24 months.
So keep
trying.
What's your solution?
Yeah, I'm sorry, we went off on my solution too.
My solution.
I've already got your solution written down.
My solution is just start talking about it,
awareness.
letting people know.
That's actually pretty good. I mean,
and like everyone start talking about it. Who,
I like that.
You know, the news, the legacy media, whatever, and then influencers, like, you know, make it to where it's. The government can announce it as like a possible future, I don't know, pandemic. That's not the word. Emergency, crisis. Exactly.
Yes.
Crisis.
Yes.
That if we don't get it handled, because I think that just letting people know and really, not just letting people know, letting people know, but 2, also being supportive of larger families, right? And taking away, like working on taking away the stigma of like, oh, y'all have 3, 4 kids? Like, that's a lot. Like, oh, the wife stays at home. Like, putting a positive spin on it and supporting optically and truly, but making it where we are supporting and people can tell that we're supporting, not judging. And so that's what I think. And then everybody make a YouTube channel, start talking about it. YouTube influencers start talking about it. As big as they make other problems like climate change and fossil fuels and the economy, and like, let's start talking, put this out there, but nobody's putting it out there. And I think that's weird.
Well, there's some people that put it out there. My only problem with it.
I'm not saying nobody. I'm saying there are pockets of people that put it, like individuals.
And I guess where I get weirded out about it.
But do you hear about it in the news?
No,
that's what I'm
talking
about.
But how many young people actually watch the mainstream media? Like, how many people do you watch the news at all?
No, Fred, let me finish what I'm saying. It starts there.
Okay, I get you.
As the flame. No, maybe no young people watch mainstream media, right? No. But that's the flame that starts it. And then it always happens. The influencers and YouTube and podcasts take it from there and they run with it.
Okay, yeah.
That's the thing.
And I like your solution. Yeah, and I like your solution.
I'm not saying like the legacy media has to be the one and we have to get people to listen to that. No, they just have to be like the spark. The spark of that starts it, the flame, and then everybody else.
I feel like the cycle starts in reverse now. I feel like the social media gets it, and then the news is trying to catch up to the social media because it
the reason I'm saying that is because there has to be one central point that starts the conversation. And a lot of times, who starts the conversation? It trickles down from the top.
I like that.
So otherwise, what are you going to say? Get all the YouTube influencers together and be like, hey, this is a problem. No, the easiest way is like from the top down.
I like that.
So yes, that's I'll pick this up from here if you don't mind. Obviously we've talked about the propaganda apparatus of the elites. And yes, this is something that, if you were to change the propaganda structure, you could actually propagandize people to do this. But that's
your solution is propaganda?
No, that's my introduction to my solution.
Oh, I was about to say.
Is propaganda a like negative thing? Because
It can be.
That's not. That's a
Not
topic for another. That's a
necessarily.
topic
It
for
can be.
another day. I mean,
It
if it's
can
good
be.
propaganda, if you're propagandizing
Okay.
people to like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it
hey,
can be
diet
different.
and go to the gym, then maybe that's good. But if you're propagandizing people to
right.
do
So
NSFW stuff, then maybe you shouldn't do that. That's another conversation. I will continue with this though. The kids that the children they
What's
have
your
to
solution though, bro? I'm sorry. I'm not trying to rush you, but let's be succinct, like she
I'm
said.
building to that, but you took all my time. So,
Okay.
so the kids, they are an investment, and that's what really has to materialize in people's
Yes.
minds, especially in a secular or religious society. They're the biggest investment you'll ever have. It's not like even having a dog or a cat. The kids actually produce things, and that's a very materialistic way to put it. The solution, I'm going to give an explicit solution. I actually like her solution because it's more implicit and indirect. Mine is more direct. What you would do is, if you were to structure a society, and this is more technical, you would actually, since we have this overarching government, you would increase immigration, but only for women.
only what?
Only for women. Only for women. No men. You would only increase immigration for women.
Wow.
You would, and honestly, the other thing you would do, which would encourage coupling.
But what if those women don't want to have children?
I didn't say that. I'm just talking about generalized.
A generalized solution.
A generalized solution.
Because it increases the potentiality of more women to be child carriers.
So, and then the other thing you would do is probably direct government welfare towards women only under a certain condition, which is that they do not work. Why do I say that? The reason why I say that is because when the women go to work, they bring in the same amount of resources as a man, and it creates a dating imbalance. So the women make more money than the men, and they don't want to date men who make less money than them. So you can't find a mate as a man. So you would allow them to.
I gotta turn away from that one.
I was gonna say, I'm like, what are you talking about, bro? But
so
I'm gonna let
you
you cook. I'm gonna let you.
Sure.
Cook.
Yeah. You would. Hey, here's $2,000 a month, which is a nice. I've lived off $2,000 a month. Here's $2,000 a month, and you get that as long as you do not have an employer.
And you're saying $2,000 a month, and well, first of all,
how does that increase the birth rate though? What if they decided to not have children?
No. It doesn't increase the birth rate. It increases because then the men are able to. It increases coupling because you need coupling to make children. So then
that makes sense. My bad. I missed.
That's an extremely out of the box solution.
Well, this is only if we have to use government to do it. I would rather not use government. I like your solution better. But if government is such an intricate part of our lives, and it's so totalitarian now, where it imposes its strictures on every single aspect of our lives, if we're going to use it, we might as well use it for good so we can all flourish. I would prefer not to use it at all. I like your solution. Just awareness. Just, hey guys, we need to just keep our species going. I think that is probably healthier.
I think that would.
If that doesn't work, then this is what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to mandate. You're going to have to structure society. Probably do tax breaks for families. 0% income tax for 3 kids or more, or something like that. They do that in Hungary, and I hope we don't get like that. I would much prefer your solution, which is just make people aware and make dating normal again, and awareness normal. Yeah. I think that would be a better solution.
And I do think that they the two solutions that I think would be great are the one that I said, and having health insurance cover IVF.
Yeah.
Because it's ridiculous now. You have to pay out of pocket. A couple has to pay.
I mean, that leads to a deeper issue.
$25,000.
Yeah.
And these are people who would be wonderful parents, right? And would have multiple kids, but they're infertile. But every time they try IVF, whether they have a baby or not, $25,000. People don't have that money.
That's a lot of money.
It's too
And
much.
that's why, I mean, I guess the second part of my solution, which me and him talked about, is have the government, I think the better usage of government to incentivize people to have kids is which leads to a different issue of like the privatized version of healthcare, or should it be a function of government? And maybe only certain functions of healthcare should be covered by the government, because we don't, like, I'm not a socialist, I'm not a communist, but I do think it's
we'll save that for our third topic.
Yeah, that's a different topic, and that may lead to our third topic. But yeah, I think that if this is truly a crisis, it's the government's duty to
inform the people.
Well, not even inform, but to fund the solution. Like if we are all taxed and it's a collective of our dollars, and part of the government's function is to find solutions to our problems as a society, then healthcare has to be an iteration of that.
Yeah, for sure. But they have to inform of the problem too. No.
I mean,
like
our leading country
earlier,
Israel is financially incentivizing people to have kids and covering that cost.
Yeah. And the citizens understand that they need to be having kids.
That's a simple solution.
There's not one person that I've talked to here, and other than us, that
would be opposed.
That even know that we are below the sustainable birth rate and fertility rate. We're not replacing ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, there's a reason why, which is another. I want to go into healthcare for the next segment, and we'll go into the reason why that is, maybe in a future podcast.
We're probably going to have to separate. Yeah. We're getting into. That's why this topic was so good, and why we needed because it can branch off into.
It's a unique
multiple different areas of,
and it's not
an underlying philosophy that we are. I'm sure we have our own individualized opinions about, and maybe a collective opinion about.
Yeah.
We gotta wrap it up, and I do want to. Let's do some closing. What did I want to say about this? There's shoot. Yeah.
Next time.
Yeah, let's just wrap it up and we can go into it next time. Unless you got it like on the top of your head like that.
No. Let's just We'll wrap it up and maybe we'll go into it next time.
Sounds good.
Yeah. All right, cool. Sweet.
Hey, we're back.
Let's go.
All right. So back for our third segment then. This has been in the news. Obviously, I'm sure you guys have seen this. This assassin character who shot the United Healthcare CEO, Brian Thompson. They found him. It's been an interesting news cycle. I'll go ahead and summarize this. And hold on one second. Yeah, okay. On December 4th, 2024, United Healthcare CEO Brian Thompson was shot and killed outside a Manhattan hotel, allegedly by the sensational internet sensation Luigi Mangione, a 26-year-old app developer from Maryland. Mangione, described as a talented former Ivy League student with a background in robotics and programming, was arrested in Pennsylvania 5 days later after a multi-state manhunt. Investigators are exploring possible ideological motives, as Mangione reportedly expressed anti-corporate and anti-healthcare sentiments online. He faces charges of second-degree murder and weapons offenses.
Wow, only second-degree murder. That's interesting.
That is crazy, actually. I didn't know that either.
How's that not premeditated?
How's that not premeditated? That's first degree, right?
That's weird. We need to fact check that.
Yeah. The case has drawn national attention, highlighting concerns over violence and ideological extremism. Incredible story. This guy has captured the internet's collective hive mind, I guess because he's handsome or whatever. That they featured pictures of him on late night TV. This is a typical kind of class warfare struggle with the ostensibly lower class targeting the upper class, even though this individual himself went to a $40,000 a year high school and was valedictorian. So there's a lot to say about this. I don't really know what his grievance was, as we've we just found out recently that he didn't even have he wasn't even insured by United Healthcare. And I also
you know what I want to know is something that I'm sure it's not all out on the table yet. Did any of his family members that may have had a grievance, did they have United Healthcare? Like a dad or aunt
I think his family's loaded.
Yeah. So are you saying that they don't have health insurance, period?
No, I'm
even
saying that even if they
you don't pay out of pocket, you still get
like,
coverage. Yeah.
I'm saying if they're loaded, it's totally different compared to a poor person that would.
I agree. I agree. I'm not. Yeah, so I wasn't disputing that. I'm just confused about the beef. You know, like that he has with him, or is it just an ideology? Is it a legitimate
ideology?
Beef?
I think it's because he's convinced that he's been propagandized into thinking that the CEOs of these companies, they are, I mean, he had the engraved bullets, right? Deny, defend, depose.
That's also the name of a book, though, right? And he got the wrong word, the last word wrong, right? Look that up. Isn't there a name of a book on the bullets? But he got the wrong, I think the dispose word is the wrong word, but there is a book about the healthcare industry.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with it. I just know that his grievance was...
But he got one of the words wrong. Not wrong. Maybe he meant it that way, but it's not the name of the book itself.
Okay, well, perhaps or whatever. I'm just saying that the bullets were engraved, and it signifies a grievance he had with the healthcare industry. Even though, I don't know. There's been plenty of pundits and commentators online talking about this, that the healthcare industry they don't really do that much in profits. It's like 4%.
I think it has to do with how insurance companies handle claims. Do you know what the?
It doesn't say a specific book about the bullets, but it does say he had read and rated several controversial books, including Industrial Society and Its Future by Ted Kaczynski.
He read. That was in the
I think there's an actual book though. Look up Deny.
We don't have time to look up books, man, brother.
Okay, cool. That's cool.
Yeah. So, what do you think?
What do I think? I'm still thinking. Go, Fred.
Okay, never mind.
I don't really know. I guess where I'm confused at is it seems like it is more of a radicalization of an ideology, and especially when he brings up the Ted Kaczynski thing.
Yes, I agree with that.
It seems like it's more of him trying to instantiate his, I guess, what he considers his philosophy. And I'm just confused about that because, I don't know, normally if you really want to manifest that in a tangible manner, like I would hope you have an actual grievance with
the actual company,
or maybe the CEO, or maybe some type of personal experience. And
no, if he didn't even have United Healthcare, so it has to definitely be an ideology.
Yeah, that's just wild to me. Yeah, that's my only take.
He got radicalized or propagandized or indoctrinated or whatever you call it, but whatever measures should be in people's brain to keep them from jumping off that cliff were not in place for some reason in his brain. And that's where I'm wondering, where were those bars that would keep you from going out of your mind and doing what
jumping
you
off
did.
That ledge, basically.
I think his roommates, they chimed in and they said that he had maybe suffered mental health issues.
Well, they said back problems, I believe, right?
They did, but there's also maybe I saw reports of maybe schizophrenia or something like that.
Oh, really?
But is he actually medically been diagnosed with that?
I don't know.
Interesting. That's interesting.
And then you'd have to delve into HIPAA laws.
You actually read that schizophrenia was a possibility, or was that conjecture?
It was conjecture on Twitter, I think. And,
that'd be different. Yeah.
But it would explain his kind of turn of personality, because his roommates reported the same thing, that he didn't seem like the same person. Whatever.
You know what I think is kind of weird? Well, maybe, I don't know, but it does seem kind of weird that his picture was all over the place, like with the mask off and smiling and all that. And I read that he had basically lost contact on purpose from his end with his family
With
and
his
friends,
family,
like
I
in the
saw
last
that.
6 months. But everyone was seeing that. It was top news for like a week.
Yeah.
And like, I don't think his family called and said,
There
hey,
you
that
go.
could be our
Well,
son.
they probably
or
did, but you know how law enforcement handles investigations. They won't release
maybe they did.
they won't release information because they think it might undermine their
Well, maybe
their
they did.
investigation.
But
Yeah.
no, I don't think they did because they would, for like 5 days, they had no idea who it was.
Well, I think like even 2 to 3 days in, they'd already tracked them to a hostel
Yeah,
in
but
New
they
York.
didn't know who it
Mhm.
was, is what I'm saying. So that kind of confirms that no one in his family possibly called. Doesn't confirm, but it like, could point that way.
Mhm. I
Like
agree.
he was anonymous for such a long time. And it's like
and then maybe there was a conflict with the family, right? Like maybe they knew who he was, but it's like, now do I want to give up? Like I need to.
his mom and dad.
Yeah, like maybe we need to talk about this before I turn my son in, right?
He had a
I mean, wouldn't
he
you
had an
be,
uncle who
wouldn't
was
you
like
be
a
a certain
senator
way?
or
I mean, even
something,
if
or
your
a
son or
congressman,
your
Yeah, no,
offspring's
you're
in the
right. You're
wrong,
right. Now that you're
wouldn't
saying that.
wouldn't you? I mean, would you immediately call the authorities up and say, "Go get my son"?
No, I would want to
Or
get
my
a hold
daughter.
of my son to make sure they don't hurt him in the process. Yeah,
Exactly.
you're right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah,
I'm glad I brought that up so you could help me think through it because it
Well,
did seem weird at first.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the type of things that these topics we take on, like the turns and twists they take, because we have to start thinking about them from multiple perspectives, and it makes life real when you have to start thinking about it that way. It's not just like a news story that you can detach yourself from when we discuss these topics. Which
But I
Yeah.
do totally wonder where those measures in his brain were. Like, where were they?
Oh, I don't know.
Like,
Well,
that's where, that to me, that's the key question. Like, in all of these people that go and plan these killings, because they all plan it, they all get the guns, they all like, he waited, he got the gun, he had the bullet, he like,
I mean, he booked a hostel.
He booked a hostel.
He traveled. He was there at the time of the conference. Like, that's not. I'm not saying that it wasn't public information, but it, like, me or you on a general basis, we wouldn't have known what time that conference started unless we really.
No, they do deep dive research into it to get their stuff done, and it's like, what happens? At what point in the brain does that thought, like that you shouldn't do that, not go up like a red flag? Like, I don't understand what is wrong with these people. Is it mental health? Is it spiritual?
I think part of it's
that.
I think part of it's
so I'm going to chime in here.
Complicated.
Yes. So there's a crucial question here that we have to answer is, why did what convinced this kid is very intelligent. Like, I'll look at his credentials: BSc in computer science, minor in mathematics. Mathematics is a very high IQ degree. MSc, master's in computer science. This kid is very intelligent. Went to an all male school, private school, high school. How do you...
And seemed to have good social skills also.
Yeah, he was valedictorian. His speech was...
the traditional good family. Like, he comes from the mother and father are married.
So it's such an anomaly, which is
it's not always an anomaly, but it's
no, that's the definition of an anomaly, is that they don't always happen, is that they are... No,
I think in his case,
outliers.
it really is an anomaly.
I agree with you. I'm just saying that there's other cases where this has happened. I mean, even the Menendez brothers that I brought up before.
But very few. Most of them have come from troubled homes. He didn't, is what he's saying.
But that's not, no, I'm just, that's the preface to what I actually want to say, which is that how did someone like that, how was he convinced that this person, who convinced him?
Yes.
How is he convinced that this person is the source of all his ills and all his troubles and all his family's troubles? That this person, Brian Thompson, who I believe he's out of Iowa, he worked his way up, pretty pretty. I hate to say it, but he has
Well,
a soul, but
regardless.
boring fella, sure,
a benign
he's
guy.
a benign guy, sure. Has a family, kids, lives in a. I guess what you would.
That doesn't
whatever.
even matter.
Doesn't even
that
matter.
doesn't
But
matter.
basically,
Yeah.
basically, like how was this kid convinced by propaganda, thinking that that healthcare CEOs are the reason why Americans are so unhealthy?
Yeah,
I'm not even convinced that he's convinced of that. I hate to use the double. That's my little technique that I
that's
use
fine.
here.
Well, then why did he
Because
assassinate
it's because like what I said, I think off camera, I think the component of some of this stuff is
You
that
might need to speak up a little bit.
okay. I think the component of some of this stuff is that it's for their own clout. It's for their own propaganda, and for them to be in the media and to be recognized where they feel unrecognized.
Yeah, but there are other ways of doing that
Oh,
rather than murdering someone.
No,
so
I
my question is,
I agree. I'm just
using
saying that some people take this route, and it's not even about the logical justification of, this person represents this corporatocracy in America, and like I have to like be a vigilante and be like the hero. Like maybe there is some component of that, like
I'm just thinking it has to be way deeper than clout, and use the word convince about this guy. Was he convinced that it's the CEOs? I want to know, how was he convinced that murdering someone, regardless of who it was the thing to do? I'm not going to say the solution. Maybe he didn't think it was the solution, but how was he convinced? Who convinced him? What convinced him? What ideology? What thoughts in his brain? What's
even more weird to me is that he doesn't even have. What's even more weird to me is that he doesn't even have a personal grievance. Like we all think Ted Kaczynski handled his problem with the advancement of technology wrong, right?
Really?
But at least he actually had who he targeted.
Be gentle.
He actually had grievances with those people. Like he actually targeted people that were
with those specific ones.
Yeah, that were against his agenda and what he saw philosophically as immoral or unethical. This guy doesn't. I mean, as we've researched, he didn't have UHC.
He lost the plot and just went rogue.
It doesn't make sense,
like
and that's why
I think he thought he was following Kaczynski, and then got lost.
But how?
Lost the plot. Truly, I don't know.
But there's no connect the dots. He didn't have UHC healthcare.
No, there's no connect the dots.
He doesn't have a family member. I mean, I read I saw very briefly that he had back problems, but what does that have to do with United
millions
Healthcare?
Of people have.
What does that have to do with United Healthcare?
Pain.
Like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like,
it's
what?
And him and his family could pay for that stuff out of pocket. So I don't know. He was trying to be the hero. I don't know. I cannot figure it out.
No, I'm saying I don't know how he even came to that conclusion of being a hero. Like,
exactly.
Who are you a hero for? I don't even know if he's a hero for the people that are not involved with healthcare.
Right. Well,
I don't know.
There's nothing I can say because I'm just lost.
Yeah, I feel like we just covered it because it's a current event. There is a philosophical twist to that, but I don't even want to get into it. I can't even attach anything to it.
Well, maybe I can set us up for another episode. It does present a question, which is the role of healthcare / insurance.
We can go into that. That's a separate topic in an episode.
And how much are we obligated to receive from them, and what are they obligated to give to us? And should the government be involved? That's a whole other conversation.
Yeah,
so we'll save that for another conversation.
Yeah, I like that. That's cool.
Yeah. Hey, you guys have any parting remarks or? Yeah. Well, hey, thank you guys for tuning in for this episode, and we'll see you guys next time.